Lisa Schnebly Heidinger is celebrating Arizona with lots of interesting people, so you'll hear wonderful voices with new stories. Grab your favorite drink and settle in. We're celebrating Arizona, going everywhere from A to Z, and we're off.
And welcome everyone to Celebrating Arizona. I am excited because I get to, and therefore you get to, talk to and hear from Tom Zoellner. If you know Arizona writing at all, you know his name because he is one of both the most gifted and most prolific Arizona writers. And if you don't, you'll learn a little bit today, and then you can turn yourself loose on the web and see what else you'd like to read. And I actually, now this is terrible. I got to do a blurb for you once, and now I don't remember the name of the book. How sad is that?
I think it was Rim to River, no?
It was Rim to River. Yes, indeed. Yeah. And you've done, do you even know how many books you've done?
Yeah, it depends on how you count them because there were a couple of co-writing
count.
Things in there. So the high count would be 12 and the low count would be 10.
That's pretty impressive. And are you working on something now, or are you doing other things right now?
I am working on something now. It's actually about Central Arizona water and the fate of the Gila River. As you know, as most listeners will know, the Gila River has been effectively turned off west of the town of Florence. And there's a question there regarding dam removal. Could taking out some of those upstream dams, which has been a bit of a question almost since they went up in the decades after the Civil War. Would it restore riparian health to remove some of what are increasingly useless obstructions on that watercourse?
I didn't even know that. Wow, good for you. So you're drawing attention to this.
Yeah, it's a complicated question, and the Gila River Indian community has become quite a politically powerful entity insofar as having a major say in where Arizona's water is distributed, thanks to a court settlement that they received in 2004. So their voice has never been more important. And it's not always a unified voice. This is maybe, as you and some of the listeners will know, one of the major fallacies about Native American politics is assuming that they all agree on everything and they speak with one voice and that they're all going to be pleasantly liberal in their beliefs. And as anyone who has spent time out there knows, no, it's just every bit as divided in their opinions. Yeah, heterodox as the broader American society.
Well, better you than me, that's for darn sure. Now, you are an Arizonan, which means you love it and you come back to it, and you're an Arizonan, period. But how did that start? Where did you start, and when did you come here?
A good question. So I'm on my mother's side, fifth generation. My great grandfather moved to Arizona Territory in 1905 with the idea of practicing medicine in the Salt River Valley. But he found that there were actually an abundance of physicians at the time. He was not the only one with this idea. You know, you'd think that a burgeoning farming and ranching community would be just really desperate for doctors, but it turned out no, there was an abundance. So he had trouble getting licensed, not because of his qualifications, but because the territorial board, was being stingy about granting these licenses, and so he said, "Well, got to make a living. I guess I'll do what everyone else is doing, which is farm cotton." and which he did at the base of what's now called, what was then called Papago Buttes in the
Okay.
valley. Yeah, as you take McDowell Road heading east, you're going to go through them. And his farm was at the western base of that. So my mom came from a working class family. Her mom worked for the state of Arizona for 35 years.
Oh my gosh, doing what? Do you know?
Various administrative capacities for the state examiner's office, the state highway department, and she ended up on something called the Oil and Gas Commission, which didn't
Wow.
have a lot to do because they were charged with promoting the state's vast oil resources, which, as you know, there are almost none. So,
But
yeah.
for a woman to be working state jobs in those days seems impressive.
Yeah, it was an administrative capacity. I want to be clear. I mean, she was a very smart woman, but in those days, what she did is you typed letters and ran the front office, and that was her role,
Okay.
which does not in any way imply any diminutive on the importance of that role or the qualifications that you need. Anyway, my mom went to ASU and met my dad, who was another Arizona archetype, that is to say, a Midwestern migrant. He moved out from Kansas to attend this university, and love blossomed in 1961, and there it is.
So you grew up in the Valley?
Grew up in the Valley and Tucson. Kind of
And
like
Tucson.
you. The geography kind of spread all over the state. I know your roots are in Yavapai / Coconino, but much of your professional life was in Tucson.
Yeah. And then I got to go back to Flagstaff for Channel 3. That's when I met my Tom. And in a vacuum, I would always be in Flagstaff. But this is not a vacuum. So, and I found out, and then I will not go on. Our home, I was doing tax forms, is 134 miles from my folks' house in Tucson, where our daughter now lives. And it's 134 miles from NAU. And I thought, well, no wonder I live here.
Well, okay.
That's kind of perfect.
Surveyed correctly.
Now, do you appreciate the fact that because of your people being here before it's a state, you have the option of spending your golden years in the Arizona Pioneer Home?
I have not investigated that, although someone told me that I would qualify. It's probably easier to get into than the California Society, the equivalent California Society, which requires stringent documentation that you have entered the state before noon or midnight or sometime in the year 1849.
Whoa.
Yeah, apparently it's pretty serious stuff. And we talked earlier about tribal politics. There's also a pretty strong genealogical hurdle that you have to cross to become an enrolled member of a tribal group. And this becomes obviously a pecuniary matter if the tribe is a gaming tribe. I understand the Arizona Pioneer Home to be a little more loosey-goosey in its requirements.
Well, we're Arizona. We take
shorts to formal events.
we take all comers. But I love the idea. My grandpa, so the Sedona Schnebly's son, planned to live there, and then they just never got old enough to do that. But I love and it's still a line item in the state budget, and I think there's some kind of stipend that comes with your room.
Oh,
so
okay. Well, being Arizona, it's not going to be much. But.
It's not much, but there are worse things. So you have also lived other places, California. Is that about it? Arizona, California?
This is maybe also an Arizona archetype. Growing up there, I thought, why do I want to be here? It's dry, nothing important happens here. It's particularly in urban Arizona. It's just sort of dispiriting. All the big 6-lane arterial streets and all the Circle Ks and all the lack of promise or grandeur in the built environment. I mean, I'm not going to comment on the natural environment, which is, of course, majestic. But as a kid, you maybe don't look at that environment the way that you should. And I thought, I'm getting out of here. This is Dullsville. I don't want to be in high school forever. So made it my mission to escape Arizona, and chasing newspaper jobs that takes you all around. So multiple different places in the United States until the gravitational pull of Arizona pulled me back with a job at the Arizona Republic. And I thought, oh crap, here we go again. But back to this particular place that I've wanted to get out of all my life, and what a twist of fate this is. And that turned out to be some of the most important years of my adult life at the Arizona Republic. Tremendously formative, and I'm now at a place where I regret ever sort of looking down on it or thinking that it was somehow subpar.
And tell me some of the good parts then of Arizona.
Oh, well, I mentioned, of course, the natural grandeur. It's impossible to talk about Arizona without that. There's, for those who have a consciousness of unfolding history, there's really almost no better place to be than to kind of see the fate of the United States unspooling right in front of you. Insofar as some of the great national questions are iterated where we live. There's, of course, the tremendous people. That's not to claim any sort of Arizona exceptionalism, because, of course, there's tremendous people everywhere. But having grown up in a place and having known folks for decades, you kind of get to time travel with them a little bit, and you get to see, the shapes that they take, the ways that their personalities change but remain the same. And the same with landscapes too. Particularly in such a fast-changing place as Arizona is, you see what a place used to look like and what it looks like now. And not to keep flipping this, but I imagine Sedona is just quite a laboratory for that. Maybe not always in bad ways, right? We think about growth as like this big negative that, chewing up the desert, chewing up the old citrus orchards, et cetera. But not everything that changes is necessarily bad. Would you agree with that, or am I?
No, I completely agree with it. And I think somebody, I think it was Jody Applegate, said the truly important questions can only be answered, well, yes and no. And I think that change is good and bad. And so, of course, we want this, we don't like that. But Arizona interests me because our identity is basically pretty much outside of the municipal areas. But our people are mostly the valley and then some in Tucson. And so there's a disparity between what we care about and where we are. And it used to be that you could get elected to an Arizona office without ever courting your rural voters. I think that's changed some. I think now if you're representing a rural area, you have to get some of them on board anyway.
Well, tell the Democrats that, because they're just terrible at rural politics. But that's a whole nother can of worms. It occurs to me that both my family and your family really kind of planted the flag in the first decade of the 20th century. I date my ancestry, which is a blip when it comes to Native American history. I want to make it clear, when it comes to old timers, we just got here, as opposed to the Pi people or the human speaking people. Let's get that clear. But nevertheless, I planted it in 1905. I believe Sedona's post office was established in 1903. Is that right?
Actually, I think 02, they came in 01. Okay. Very good, though.
Yeah.
And so you're right. We are at the dawn of the 20th century. and which doesn't make us better, but it's fun.
It is, and you saw the Sedona, of yore before some of the kind of spiritual tourism began to evolve, before the big, mega rich European palaces used to go up. And as we've said, we tend to view the past through this kind of, hazy, pleasant nostalgia lens. But it wasn't always great. And so I know I'm not here to interview you, but I am curious. What were the parts of the old Sedona that maybe were, less than perfect, that maybe are better now?
Actually, nice question. You know what? We're going to take a quick break and come back to that.
All right, I'm curious. I'm not going to let go of it.
Okay, breaking. On the Arizona 250 passport, Goldfield Ghost Town near Apache Junction is so much more than ghosts. A gold strike in 1893 brought bloom to the desert, but pretty soon the town died. But Goldfield got new life when new owners brought it back to its heyday, only better. It's full of businesses, an underground mine tour, and a zip line, and spirit tours. Shop a Western outfitter, Blue Nugget jewelry, coffee cantina, old-time photography, even botanicals made from the surrounding desert. So we're back, and you had asked a very good question, which is, what wasn't great about the past? When I was little, and we would be up there mostly in the summers, to me, Sedona was basically Ash Fork in a prettier place. I mean, it was just one more small town in Arizona. And that was, and it had good and bad. The hitching post was there. That was about it. I don't know if you get up there very often now, but oh my gosh, are the restaurants amazing now. Do you eat in Sedona very often?
I do. The Oak Creek Tavern is now called something else. I forget the new name of it, but that's where the Western Artists of America was famously founded, in a booth by Joe Beeler and his friends. It's okay. Nothing to give a 5-star review to.
If you've been to Shorebird, if you've been to Renee's, if you've been to Hudson, there's some Creekside, Pump House.
Yep. And if you're into dive bars, I understand the Sundowner is the place to go.
I didn't know that. I don't drink enough, I guess. But my grandpa, Ellsworth, so Sedona's boy, I remember it just because he had no idea what was coming. He would go down to the post office twice a day, because you got mail twice a day, and he came home one day and he was kind of pleased, and he said, "Another one of those love vans came in today with hippies, but the gas station wouldn't sell them, and the hitching post closed, and they had to go to Cottonwood." And I thought, well, the ACLU would be a little interested. But as you probably remember, the harmonic convergence is what I think changed Sedona forever. Because Machu Picchu, Stonehenge, and Sedona were supposed to be the power places for that. And I think that's when everything got different.
But wasn't it a real estate agent named Mary Lou, and I'm going to blank on her last name, in the 50s, who really kind of interpolated a lot of the new thought religion of Los Angeles in the 20s?
See, you know something I don't. I'd never heard of her.
Yeah. She started selling lots in Sedona, and it came with this kind of frosting of, not only are you getting a home site in a really spectacularly beautiful place, but there happens to be kind of a magnetic energy. And it was just really took off. That's what I understand to be the kind of seed of the hippies in their love van getting their revenge on pioneers like your granddad.
See, you know so much. Okay, speaking of that, you write about the famous and the more obscure aspects of Arizona. What are some of your personal favorite places?
Places in Arizona,
Places in Arizona. Where do you like to be? It might not just be the Grand Canyon on a golf course.
Sure. Okay, I want to give you an answer that doesn't sound like, something you would read in one of those magazines in your hotel, bedside drawer that tells you to go experience the Shady Dell Trailer Park in Bisbee.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that, no shade on them, no shade on Shady. But just everyone knows about it, right? Even like we want to kind of have our own kind of quirky places, and that might not appeal to others. I'll tell you, I've always had an affinity for the really rough kind of blue collar landscapes of Arizona, which are never going to be in a hotel tourist magazine. For example, when I when I would come home from wherever it was, I'd always drive down Old Nogales Highway, south of the airport. Yeah, which is just like, again, it is not a luxurious landscape at all, and in fact, you do see some serious, generational poverty down there. But it feels real. It feels like, in my own way, I could live here. I could sort of enjoy the completely unpretentious aspect of this. You take Old Nogales Highway south, and you're going to pass Tubac, which, once you get past the touristic infrastructure there really is a genuinely interesting kind of foundation for understanding Arizona's territorial past.
So true. And Tubac is really the heart, I think, in some ways of Arizona's past.
The kind of mining schemes, the ridiculous promotions.
Well, but also the first newspaper.
Yes.
And being settled by both natives, not by both, but natives and Hispanic descendants, and not as many Mormons, I guess, but
all under one roof. What's been called the tripartite kind of culture of Arizona: the Anglo, the Native, and the Hispanic. You saw that in Tubac, not always happily. Right? It was...
nothing is always happy.
An epicenter for Apache raids.
Pete Kitchen.
Yep, all that, appropriation of resources. There's no, necessarily good and evil there. It was interest groups fighting for the same thing, and everyone had their own story. So you pass Tubac and you get to McCackery, to one of the truly great drinking establishments in Arizona, Abe's Two McCackery Bar, run by the Trujillo family for generations, with silver dollars lacquered over that fireplace.
I don't know that. I know I love Wisdom's Cafe with Big Chicken, which is Two McCackery. But I've never... So tell me the name of the place again, because I've never been there.
Abe's Two McCackery Bar. It may or may not be open. The family kind of opens it when they feel like it.
That's Arizona.
That's there Arizona. And then just to walk along the mesquite-choked flatlands of the Santa Cruz River, see the Santa Ritas up there. You get a sense of unfiltered time. I'm going to name that as an Arizona place. Also, even though the Border Patrol's really messed it up, the Camino del Diablo, running from Ajo to Yuma, which is a path that can trace its roots to the 17th century. Father Kino was out there. This was the land journey from Sonora to San Diego, to the coast at San Diego, and you see some of the most truly frightening desert that I've ever seen, insofar as blazing hot and
scarce water sources.
Yeah, water if you didn't bring it, it ain't there, except for Tienes Altas, where known as high tanks in Spanish, where there's catch basins there for
Okay.
rainwater, which are only the truly desperate we're gonna drink that.
Wow. And then Bisbee?
Bisbee, yes. So I had the privilege of field organizing the campaign of Gabrielle Giffords there on her first run for Congress in
Really?
2006. Yeah, and lived in Cochise County and grew to love it because of just the extraordinary people that you met down there with the amazing backstory. You talk about hippies in their love van. They found Bisbee at roughly the same time your granddad was cursing them, and Bisbee became a countercultural locus because of the cheap housing. Like the Phelps Dodge mine was in its closing phase, and so all these generational miners were selling their bungalows for dirt cheap. And this is just a fact of it. It was really, really close to Mexican drugs, which easy access for those who partook, as many of them did. And that became part of Bisbee's kind of funky charm. I mean, I have never really been into drugs, and that was not a part of my experience down there. But nevertheless, it provided a kind of a subterranean foundation for the reason why so many interesting folks were there.
Interesting. That's fun. Okay, we're going to do a quick break, and then I want to hear about books. Okay?
Okay.
This is an excited reminder that Celebrating Arizona is the podcast partner of AZ250. That is a special commission celebrating, wait for it, America's semi-quincentennial. It includes Passport 250, which you can get to explore 250 of our state's gleaming treasures. There's a community calendar and a traveling museum this spring. Go to america250az.org for more. All right. Tell me about some of your favorite writings. You are an amazing writer.
That's
Really.
I'm going to fact check that one. That's not true. But to keep it, thank you. It's a good question, and this is one of my passions, which is the Arizona literary tradition, such as it is, which is still in its kind of pre-adolescence, you might say. We don't have the august tradition of Texas letters or of California letters. We've got a kind of a disparate sense of ourselves. It's a bit like Arizona cuisine, which can you really say that there is a distinctive Arizona school of cooking the same
There's
way
a
that
lot, I think.
you think? I have a theory on this, but I want to hear yours.
I guess I think that the braids of Mormon, Hispanic, and Native give a lot of different kinds of Arizona foods. But tell me yours.
Well, is there a really unified kind of Arizona taste? The same way that, when you get fish sauce on the palate, you can say like, oh, that's Thai food. Or, marinara says like Italian. Or certainly the chilies and the mole, harken strongly to New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
But do we have? Here's my theory, which I acknowledge has all kinds of holes in it, more holes than a colander, you might say. The Anglo way of eating that came into the state in the late 19th, early 20th century, when my family and your family came here, was very much a mining centric, heavy protein, heavy fat. My folks were partly descended from West Virginia coal miners, and there is a pretty strong beeline from Appalachia to Arizona. And so that kind of grease and cornbread way of eating melded in some ways with Norteño cuisine, right? The carne seca, the tortillas, which of course have Mesoamerican native roots, And so you get this kind of greasy chili kind of thing, for lack of a better way to express it. The kind of groaning southern table, come up against a ranchero way of eating, and there's a lot in common there. So how does this express itself? This is where my theory has a little bit of trouble. Like, where do you go to experience that marriage of different methods of preparation? And so I'd argue, well, you can find that in some of the Tex-Mex restaurants that sprung up here, starting in the 20s, Los Olivos in Scottsdale, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then like really went, supernova in the 50s and 60s during the great period of Arizona urbanization, with the dawn of air conditioning, with the advent of the aerospace economy. It became trendy to take your family out to Poncho's or whatever the name of the corner Tex-Mex restaurant was, right? Because you're in the Southwest, you want to read the room and do as the Romans do, and this lent itself to a kind of a particular sort of Arizona combo play way of thinking about food. I don't know. This theory needs work. What do you think?
I think that's good. I think that's good. And do you have anything handy that you've written that you particularly like?
Some of my own blatherings?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
It's matchless prose.
Okay, well, thank you. But before I do, I just want to quickly say that the Arizona way of thinking about cooking, that's also, I think, matched in its literary tradition, where you have some kind of like leading lights, you might say. Lawrence Clark Powell, the librarian at University of Arizona, talked a lot about the Southwestern tradition in writing. My own early mentor, Charles Bowden, curmudgeonly, kind of almost a conspiracy theorist, but nevertheless captured something about Arizona, particularly in the 80s, that I think remains very important. Alfredo Vea, the great novel La Maravilla about Lower Buckeye Road in Phoenix, going to places where novelists really just have a field day with the collision of ideas and cultures. There's so much there. It's a feast, but it's almost like a buffet without any kind of unifying idea behind it. And this is one of the great challenges for an Arizona novelist or an Arizona literary critic is to find the threads. This can be, I think, a very exciting time to be an Arizona writer, despite the challenge of AI. Right?
Yeah.
All right. We talked about Arizona water. I'll just read maybe a brief portion from an essay in Rim to River about shrinking water, about one of the perennial questions of Arizona. And this is a case where I did some petty trespassing. I really wanted to see something called the Ashurst Hayden Diversion Dam on the Gila River. This is one of the first federally funded obstructions to divert water both to Anglo and native farmers.
Okay.
Yeah, downstream from Florence. It was, as many things were, a broken promise. It had good intentions. It was meant to restore some water rights in the 1920s to farmers, Akimel Otom farmers that were left impoverished by some of the upstream dams near Safford. But it only deepened a schism in that way of life. Anyway, so I went over a fence that I shouldn't have and started walking upstream, and then I got caught by someone from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, and I'll just read the surprising thing that then happened.
Wonderful.
He was a middle-aged Pima guy with a ponytail here on an inspection mission. And I babbled something to him about Arizona history, and he shrugged. "Sure," he said. "Why don't you come with me?" And then he gestured to the bed of his pickup truck. And so I climbed on top of a spare tire and rode the last mile on the levee in the open air as some Diet Coke empties rolled around on the bed of the pickup. We rounded a bend, and there it was, a modest 30-foot wall shaped like an L with 9 rusted metal gates. The balustrade had been painted bone white. A retaining wall made of river stones on the south bank marked the spot of a long-gone dam tender's house. Back in the day, just as an interjection, someone used to, live on the dam site and, be there to take orders and work in emergencies. And that's all long gone. Okay, this is where 99 years ago, barbecue grills smoked, bands had played, and the president had sent a telegram to the White House to announce a bountiful future in central Arizona. There was nothing to be seen of the Gila River upstream or downstream. The diversion dam had all the purpose of an Egyptian pyramid tomb. The district official leaned over the railing to take pictures of the empty containment basin for his flow report. He told me the situation was almost as bleak upstream at the Coolidge Dam, where fish were suffocating in deoxygenated puddles. I remarked on the lack of water, and he only shook his head. "We can always hope for rain," he said, looking at the sky. So, this guy, he was super friendly. He didn't seem to care that I was trespassing on this property, and kind of joined with me in all of this irrigation infrastructure that we as a society put into place here a century ago is effectively useless, and we are once again at the mercy of rainfall and the Rocky Mountain snowpack.
Interesting. And part of me loves it that nature still is in charge.
Oh yes,
I mean, we can perch, but
Yep. We can make alterations. We can try to control her, but no, nature will always be raging outside of our little house of toothpicks.
Yeah, but I like that.
Thank you.
Thank you for reading it. And thank you for writing. Really, Arizona needs you.
Well, I think it's more the other way around, actually, but I need Arizona.
Well, good. Tom Zoellner, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lisa. It was a pleasure.
We'd really like to hear from you about anything this show led you to think about. Write to us at celebratingaz.com. The wizard behind making a conversation into a podcast is Tom Heidinger. The music comes from Daniel Blatney, and I'm Dana Cooper.